Hello, my name is Mrs. Koplin, and I'm the district librarian assigned to Summit View Elementary. Today, for Read Across America, I'm going to share this book with you called Sport, Shipdog of the Great Lakes. This is a great book to read for you because it touches many places around Lake Michigan, so more than one state. Also, this book looks like it might be a made-up story because the drawings are drawn instead of photographs, but it's not. It's about an actual dog who lived on a ship that traveled around the Great Lakes. So let's get started. The author is Pamela Cameron, and the illustrator is Renee Brock. Sport, Shipdog of the Great Lakes. With a storm rolling in over Lake Michigan, the docks seemed even busier than usual. Big ships made their way into port and dropped anchor in the Milwaukee River. Sirens and bells sounded warnings. Hurried dock workers shouted to each other in the rain. No one noticed the skinny puppy wandering the docks. No one heard him when he barked nervously into the wind. And no one saw where he ended up as the raindrops started to fall. Until the Hyacinth arrived. Off the starboard, dog in the water, dog in the water. Captain, we're taking the dinghy down. Albert and Clifford didn't wait for the captain's okay. Quickly, the two crewmen lowered the boat into the water. Albert and Clifford steered the dinghy, trying to reach the puppy before the river current carried him into the lake. Come here, pup, we'll help you, they called out over the wind. Come on, we'll get you. Just as they reached the dog, Albert reached out. He wrapped his hands around the puppy and pulled him to safety. Now, one of the things I really enjoy about this book is because there's lots of interesting vocabulary having to do with working on a ship. And maybe you know that vocabulary or you don't, but this book does a really good job of giving you clues about those vocabulary along the way of the story. Back on the Hyacinth, some of the crew gathered around. Clifford toweled the puppy dry. I can't believe it. The fur next to his body is dry, and he's not even shaking. Look at his paws, Albert said. They're webbed like a duck. What kind of dog is he? Clifford wondered. The captain ran his hands over the dog's head and down to his haunches. He looks like he's part Newfoundland, a Newfie. The captain knew that Newfies are great water dogs. Their double coat keeps them warm, and their webbed paws help them swim. An idea formed in the captain's head. We could use a good ship dog. This dog could be the one. Everyone liked this idea. They decided to name their new friend Sport, and that's how a homeless puppy found a home on a ship. Sport had fun exploring his new home. He roamed from bow to stern, from port to starboard. He found places to sleep and stand watch, and especially to eat. 3 times a day, the cook rang a dinner bell. The crew hustled to the mess, where they found biscuits, stew, and fruit pies. Sport was a growing puppy. He was always the first to clean his plate. In between meals, Sport watched the crew members as they worked. They loaded coal, kerosene, lamps, lumber, tools, paint, furniture, firewood, and even small boats onto the Hyacinth. Watch out for Sport, the crew members would call. Quickly, Sport learned to stay out of the way. The Hyacinth was a lighthouse tender. Its main job was to take supplies to the lighthouses on Lake Michigan. Soon Sport had friends all around the lake. From rocky Manitowoc to sandy Ludington, from windy Michigan City to calm Green Bay, from busy Chicago to quiet Manistee. Other ships blew their horns as they passed. They tooted a captain's salute, 1 long blast and 2 short blasts. This was a friendly way to say thank you for the work the Hyacinth's crew did to keep other ships safe on the water. Today, the crew was preparing for another trip. Sport ran around deck looking in all the crates. The captain made sure the Hyacinth and its crew were ready. All cargo lashed and tight? Aye, aye, Captain. Anchors pulled. Aye, aye, Captain. Heave-ho, we're off. The engine shuddered as it powered up. Then the ship chugged away. The Hyacinth steamed to the Cana Island lighthouse. The crew took supplies from the Hyacinth to Cana Island in a rowboat. When the rowboat got close to shore, the crew needed Sport's help. Okay, Sport, Albert said. Show us how smart you are. Albert shook out a rope and threw it into the water. Sport carried the line to shore. Then it could be used to pull the boat in. The lighthouse keeper's family ran out to greet Sport. The children squealed in delight at the sight of a dog bringing them their supplies. When everything was unloaded, it was time to say goodbye. Sport and the Hyacinth crew had more stops to make. See you next time, Sport, the children said. Now, this is a lighthouse. The Cana Island Lighthouse is still a place you can visit up in Door County, Wisconsin. Sport watched as the crew placed a buoy to mark a hidden shallow area near the Big Sable Point Lighthouse. Just as Clifford climbed to the top of the buoy to adjust the light, his tool bag dropped. Sport dove in. He grabbed the bag and dragged it back to the boat. Albert steered the dinghy closer to the buoy so Clifford could climb aboard. Then they picked up Sport from the water. Let's get you home, Sport, Albert said. We're not leaving you behind. The crew worked hard each spring. They had to get all the lights and buoys operating for the shipping and sailing season. The captain wanted his crew to have some fun, too. Often, when the ship docked for the night, the crew would go ashore to play baseball. They played against crews from other ships. One night, Sport ran onto the field to join his team. He wanted to play, too. A player from the other team yelled, "Get that mud off the field." But the crowd started yelling, too. "Sport, Sport, Sport, we want Sport." And so Sport joined the team. He caught the ball and tagged players in the outfield. Of course, he needed someone else to bat for him. One morning, the Hyacinth sailed into a thick fog. The quiet was eerie, unbroken by waves or wind. Then the sound of a horn broke the stillness. It was the Grand Traverse Lighthouse's foghorn. "Cut the engine now," the captain told his first officer. "Anchors down. Listen for any ships coming towards us." Sport's ears twitched up. He ran to the bow, stopped, and let out an explosion of barks. Albert ran to Sport's side. He could just make out the outline of a passenger ship approaching. The other ship might not see the Hyacinth through the fog. The captain grabbed the whistle cord and blew one long whistle, then two short whistles. He repeated the pattern twice. That signaled, "We're a stopped ship in open water." The two ships might have hit each other, but the crew on board the passenger ship heard the signal and pulled away just in time. This picture above kind of is a way to visualize the sound that whistle made to warn the other ship. Sport liked when the Hyacinth visited Chicago. He always found new and exciting smells in the city. As the crew loaded coal, Sport often explored the docks. The captain would blow a whistle calling him back when it was time to leave. They had to leave on time. The lighthouse keepers around the lake were counting on them to make their deliveries. One day, Sport wandered too far. A warehouse worker spotted him. He thought Sport looked like a good watchdog. He didn't know Sport already had a job. The man looped a rope around Sport's neck and led him to a warehouse. Sport didn't know what was happening or how he would get back to his ship. The next day, an ice wagon was out delivering ice to restaurants and grocery stores. The driver recognized Sport. He had seen him on the docks before. "Sport, what are you doing here?" He turned to the warehouse worker. "This dog belongs on the Hyacinth. He needs to be returned to his ship." The iceman quickly untied the rope and told Sport to get in the wagon. "I'm getting you home, Sport." The ice wagon raced to the docks. Sport didn't see his ship or crew anywhere. The Hyacinth was gone, but he did see a ship he'd seen before. The Indiana was one of the biggest ships on Lake Michigan. "Is that Sport?" the captain of the Indiana called down. "If that's Sport, he can hitch a ride to Milwaukee with us." How lucky it was that so many people on the lake knew Sport. Sport got to ride in the freight area of the Indiana. Soon children started coming down from the ship's dining room to meet him. They all wanted to hear stories of the ship dog, who fell into the Milwaukee River during a storm, who joined a crew and lived on a ship, who helped bring supplies to all the lighthouses, who played baseball, who looked out for his crewmates on the Hyacinth, and who had made friends all around the lake. Afterward, the children told their families and friends about Sport, and the story of Sport continued to spread. Meeting the children on the passenger ship had been exciting, but Sport was happy to be back with his crew on the Hyacinth. He had good friends to play with tonight and important work to do tomorrow. That night, Sport fell asleep to the sway of the ship and the sound of the water. He was a ship dog, and this ship was his home. And then this part of the book tells more about the real story of Sport, so you can learn more about it. So that is Sport, ship dog of the Great Lakes. I wonder how many states we read about in this story. You'll have to count and see.